YouTube, what's going on? Another Summoning Salt reaction while I'm not able to be a gamer. This time we're checking out Mario Kart 64, the quest for world record perfection. This seems very interesting to me. So let's check it out once again. I am zoomed in on the wrong screen. This is Summoning Salt. Please go check out the original video. Give it a view, give it a like, and all that good stuff. Tetris is phenomenal. Might be too long for tonight. How long is that? I remember you recommending that to me. Let's see, actually. While I play the call to action. That's just time optimization right there. Summoning Salt, Tetris, how long? 2 hours? Nah. I'm cutting the stream at 8 max, which is exactly 2 hours from now, and I want to watch this. But maybe another, maybe this weekend if we remember. But yeah, I have to be up at 3:30 in the morning again, so I'm gonna end the stream latest 8 o'clock. Okay, Mario Kart 64, the quest for world record perfection.
In Mario Kart 64, being the world champion is the highest accomplishment you can obtain. It's a community of thousands of players. With 16 courses you can get a non-shortcut world record in. There's records for both the fastest single lap and the fastest 3 laps, making for a total of 32 world records. For years, various champions would come along, sometimes holding a fairly large portion of the 32
I cannot wait to not have to
records.
get up at 3:30 in the morning.
Players like Kevin Booth and Alex Penev were on top in the late 90s, usually holding around half of the 32
So I'm not
records.
bored, I'm just
In the
beat to
early
shit, dude.
2000s,
Getting up
MJ
so early
reached
and then
new heights
just
for a champion,
getting an infusion
at
for
times
6 hours?
amassing
Exhausting.
over 20 of the 32 records at once. And that was incredible.
But Chris, look at the drip.
Given how many
Holy.
top-level players there were
I hit my mic.
actively playing the game, holding close to 2/3 of the records was astonishing. But in January 2011, an up-and-coming German player posted his first world record. His
It's
name
not
was
that bad. It's
Matthias
just the IV
Rustenmeier.
catheter is just
2 years later,
taped
he
on
would
and dressed
become
up.
the non-shortcut champion.
Instead of getting poked 3 days in a row, they just keep it in.
Records. But as the months passed, it quickly became clear that Matthias's reign as the champion was going to be different from any that came before him.
Was he the
October
one
2013,
in the
Matthias
video
had extended his lead
to quest to
20
beat Abney? Was he the one that was after
A
it?
week later,
I
he
assume.
was at 24.
What's up, Brandon?
By November, he hit 26. And at that point, he spelled it out. He was gonna go for 32 out of 32 possible world records.
That's disgusting.
That had never been done before. Nobody had even been close before. And it would
Holy
be
shit.
an embarrassment to the rest of the community if he actually pulled it off.
How did your
So,
appointment
the
go?
other players
Good,
formed an
just
alliance.
exhausting. Because
It was made
yesterday
up
I
of
got
the
up at
last
4
few
and today at
players
3:30 and
clinging
tomorrow at
onto
3:30.
non-shortcut records, and some other top-level contenders.
Yesterday
Their goal was simple. Stop Matthias from achieving 32
I
out
got
of 32.
out at
Only
2:15.
problem
Today
was,
at like
The
1:15.
man they were trying to stop
Tomorrow should
was
be about the
perhaps
same.
greatest Mario Kart
So I'm
64
exhausted,
player
but it
of
went well.
all time. And what happened over the following years, nobody could have predicted.
And at least after tomorrow,
This
I
was
should have
their
a break
quest
for doctor's
to stop
appointments.
Matthias.
Hopefully. Because after this, the infusions are bi-weekly. So shout out to Pride Month. And yeah. I figured today, I was like, you know what, I want to stream, but we'll just do reactions because I don't want to game while this thing is in me. I don't want to risk moving wrong.
Now, there's a couple things that need to be cleared up.
And yeah, I figured I would
First,
sap the
Mario Kart
little
64
energy I
is
have
known
left
for
so
having
that I
large
hopefully sleep well
skips,
tonight.
or oversights.
Because
from
falling
the
asleep
developers
early
that
is
allow
obviously
the player
tough.
to skip massive portions of the track.
Dude, so many shortcuts
shortcuts
are
like the
so
weather tank on Choco
dumb.
Mountain, the big jump at the start of Rainbow Road, or the wall jumps on Wario Stadium.
That was the only one I remember doing back in the day.
The Mario Kart 64 community has separate leaderboards for shortcut time trials and non-shortcut time trials.
The
The
difference?
shortcut records have their place in history, but we're going to be focusing on the 32 non-shortcut records. It's also worth mentioning how times are converted between NTSC and PAL.
Alright, Chris?
PAL
Which one?
versions of games are released in most regions of the Eastern Hemisphere, while NTSC versions come out in North America and Japan. PAL Mario Kart 64 runs at 25 frames per second.
Oh.
While NTSC runs at 30 frames per
Okay,
second.
so it makes sense because
That means
I'm used to
that the PAL
50 and
version
60.
runs in slow motion,
Choco Mountain
running
history.
at 5/60
I'll load it up
speed of
right now so
NTSC.
that I don't forget it. YouTube. Summonings.
PAL version runs in slow motion.
Salt. Choco Mountain. Epilepsy warning? Chris, you trying to kill my viewers? The fuck, man? Come on, my guy. That's fine. They stink anyways when you think about it. Don't tell them I said that, though.
The Mario Kart 64 community created the combined leaderboard to account for this, which adjusted NTSC and PAL time so they could be compared to each other. Matthias and most other top-level players play on PAL, since playing in slow motion makes driving a bit easier. So, all times you'll see in this video will be listed as their PAL equivalent, which might be slower than times you're used to seeing if you live in North America or Japan.
What was his name again?
Anyway, let's go back to December 5th, 2013. That was the day the A1A Alliance was born, from a forum post by Zoran, one of the best Mario Kart 64 players around. A1A stood for the Anti-1.0 Alliance, with 1.0 referring to Matthias's average ranking if he got 32 out of 32 records. On December 5th, Matthias had just taken the Calamari Desert lap record from MJ, meaning he now had 28 out of 32 possible records.
Hey, Brandon saying
the only 4 he was missing were Moo Farm Lap, Moo Farm 3 Lap, DK Jungle Parkway 3 Lap, and Toad's Turnpike Lap. Being only 4 records away from 32
Together we are stronger
was enough to mobilize the A1A into action. One member in particular saw a weakness in one of Matthias's times, so he got to work grinding to beat it. This runner's name was VAJ.
Badge?
Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah! 48! I was like, whoa! What up, Soki? Yeah, man! You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
One of the reasons VAJ is legendary is because of his epic celebrations. But the other reason he's legendary is because he's really, really good at Mario Kart 64. He's held dozens of world records dating back to 2006 and still plays to this day. On December 5th, 2013, he was
I don't know how to
tied
place
with
my fucking
Matthias
arm,
in
dude. It's a
Koopa
bit
Troopa
sore.
Beach lap.
So annoying.
So he did attempts to break the tie and set Matthias back to 27 records. And on December 8th, he did. He beat the tie by 0.02, putting Matthias
and I keep pushing
at
27
serious. Out of 32.
Dang, get fucked, Matthias. Washed.
Later the same day, Matthias tied VAJ again, back to 28. And then he got the Toad's Turnpike lap record. And then the Moo Farm 3 lap record. Matthias had 30 out of 32
What
possible
the fuck?
records.
Yeah, this
The
guy's
A1A
good.
was floundering. Other than the one record from VAJ, they hadn't done anything to stop Matthias. But they did have one big advantage. The last 2 he was missing were 2 of the hardest to achieve in the whole game. Let's break them down. We'll start with Moo Farm. This record was 27.82 by TJL, set in March 2013. First, the obvious. TJL played as Yoshi. The 3 fastest characters in the game are Yoshi, Toad, and Peach, with no major
pretty
gameplay
standard
differences between the 3 of them. So, every record you'll see in this video will be played as one of those characters.
I didn't realize they were like
TJL
identical.
also performed mini turbos all over. By drifting with R and wiggling the thumbstick back and forth twice, you can charge up a boost that can be released for a burst of speed when the smoke turns orange. By performing these in specific places all around the track, you can move through it much quicker than normal. The mini turbos and character selection hold true for all 16 courses, but Moo Farm has something in particular that makes it unique. It has the only random element in any of the time trial courses.
Yeah, the fucking Monty
Moles
Moles.
that randomly pop out of their holes. The optimal path
God, they're
around the
so
course
ugly in
involves
this game.
going over the holes, and if one pops up while your cart is over it, it'll hit you and force you to reset.
At least it doesn't fuck
The
your face like
record
in
holder here was
SNES.
TJL. He's what you might call a course specialist. He set a total of 19 Mario Kart 64 records over about 5 years. 14 of those 19 records were improvements to Moo Moo Farm. He was able to master this course in ways that nobody else could, subconsciously understanding technicalities about ways to drift and angles to take. After years of on and off attempts, he got a 27.82, a time he described as a once-in-a-lifetime record. When Matthias did attempts
I didn't see that one. I saw when Squeaks got hit by it, and then another one immediately. And then after the race ends, somebody did TTS saying, "This is the Gofa. Thanks for the head."
Usually lost time there. The other record Matthias didn't have, DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap, was held by William Lacey. Lacey was even more dominant at this track than TJL was at Moo Moo Farm. He had held the record for over 10 years,
Jesus,
lowering the record 14 times in a row, ultimately ending with a 213.08. DK Jungle Parkway is a bizarre course to go for records on. You have to drive through the jungle while twisting and turning your way through the grass. Near the start is a big ramp you have to precisely jump off of. The farther to the left you go, the faster. However, go too far left and you'll fall in the water. There's also a cave at the end, where the fastest way to get to the top involves mashing R to hop up a steep slope.
Wow, you can do that without items?
Incredibly precise, but after years of playing, Lacey was an expert at it. Since the record
I thought you had to do like mushroom or star or whatever.
Jungle Parkway 3-lap were so dominant on their respective courses, Matthias struggled to catch up while also holding his other 30 records. So, the Alliance was eventually able to make a dent in his record total. Throughout late 2013 and early 2014, players like Jamie, Zoran, and MJ were able to chip away and take a few records from Matthias. They weren't quite on the same level as him, but they each had the potential to set a record if they grinded it out. But, unfortunately for the Alliance, whenever someone took one of Matthias's records, he would almost always beat it back in a matter of days. So, with his record total sitting at 29, it was unclear if the Alliance's plan was sustainable. They had players who could compete with Matthias, but nobody who could keep up with him. But then, in May 2014, a new player came along to join the Alliance. His name was Dan Burbank. That May, Dan got his first world record by beating Matthias's Frapp Snowland lap record. Of course, Matthias quickly beat him back a week later, but then Dan did something that everyone else in the community struggled to do. He beat Matthias back. There were no new strategies, no revolutionary new mechanics. Dan simply drove better than Matthias. This pattern continued over the following months, and it soon became clear. Dan actually had the skill to keep up with Matthias on certain courses. So, as 2014 went on, even though Matthias was actively trying to defend his records, Dan was able to help push Matthias's total into the mid-20s. With so many players in the community actively working against him now, getting a 32 out of 32 seemed
Squeaks love the emoji-centric message, dude. It brings me back, man.
DK Jungle Parkway.
Message boards and shit, forums.
2 records, he felt confident that he could pick up the rest to get close. And in July 2015, he would get some help from a new DK Jungle Parkway strategy by Lacey. The old lap strategy involved using 2 mushrooms shortly after the ramp to cut over a section of the grass. Lacey recognized that it was actually faster to use only 1 mushroom here, and saved the second mushroom to use over a later grass patch. Improvements in non-shortcut strategies are typically similar to this. Very small changes to precise paths to take while driving. This new mushroom spot meant there was now more time to save over the lap record. Matthias had a realistic shot at getting it, and by October 2015, he had done it. Matthias had beaten Lacey on both the 3-lap and lap records. Two of the most problematic world records were out of the way.
Dude.
Now, all he had to do was keep grinding to pick up the rest.
Oh man, I don't think he'll get all 32, but that would be fucking sick.
On November 20th, 2015, Matthias posted his 5th record from the past month, a 27.68 lap on Mario Raceway. That meant, for the first time in history, a player had reached 31 out of 32 possible records.
That's so crazy.
The only record he was missing was Moo Moo Farm Lap, the 27.82 by TJL. It was the only record in the game he had never held before, and we've already gone over how much he struggled with it in the past. But now that he didn't have any other records to worry about, Matthias could focus all his efforts there. The A1A was on its last legs. They had put up a good fight for the past several months, but eventually Matthias
not even Dan
had
could
been able
handle
to outmatch
Matthias.
all of them. Matthias is a really nice guy, and nobody in the Alliance had anything personal against him, but hardly anyone wanted to see someone hold all 32 records at once. It would be an embarrassment to all the other record contenders. Matthias said in a forum post that he was going to be unable to play until November 23rd, so the Alliance at least had until then to try to take a record from him.
The emojis really are good.
Over the weekend, the Alliance got to work.
They're so wacky, don't you think?
Zorin, VAJ, and others were trying to take at least
Bro,
one
Matthias
of
comes back, he has 20
but as
instead
the
of 31.
days passed, nobody was beating any. Even with the Alliance members spending hours each day grinding courses, nobody could take any of Matthias' 31 records. That's how good he was. That's how far ahead his records were. And sure enough, on the morning of November 23rd, 2015, the day Matthias came back to try to match TJL's Moo Moo Farm lap time, a new record was posted.
And it wasn't either of them? Or was it TJL? Abney.
This is Abney317. He's one of the best in the world at Mario Kart 64, but his area of focus isn't with non-shortcut records. Instead, he's held dozens of shortcut records and the coveted 150cc large skip speed run record for years, but he's had the skill to take some non-shortcut records too. And on November 22nd, 2015, he came to the community's rescue. A 212.61 on Bowser's Castle, a new record by 7/100ths of a second. Abney went after this record in particular because it was one of Matthias's oldest records, being more than 2 years old. Quality of play had gotten slightly better since then, so Abney perceived it as weaker than most of Matthias's other records. And apparently he was right. He was able to use different paths around the thwomps to go faster. But unfortunately for him, that also meant that the very next day, Matthias was able to beat Abney's record to get back to 31.
God damn it, dude.
All he needed
This video
was
is
to shave
crazy.
9/100ths of a second off his Moo Moo Farm lap to get the 32 out of 32. He was so close, and he kept pushing. But then, it was Abney to the rescue again. This time on Calamari Desert 3-lap.
This is so
This record
crazy.
wasn't nearly as old as Bowser's Castle. It was set only a week prior, but it was unoptimized. Just a month ago, a new strategy called hill hopping was first used by a player known as Dotman. By hopping off the hills on the sand at specific points, you get more airtime and don't slow down as much as
Dude,
normal.
how
Used
do you
this to his
figure that out?
advantage, and for the second time in just 2 days, he was able to stop Matthias dead in his tracks at 31 out of 32.
That
But
emoji
that
is
wasn't enough
like
to
the
feel
wacky
safe.
ass, like, nah.
Matthias could casually pick up new records seemingly whenever he wanted, and Abney didn't have as much experience with non-shortcut records. So, just to be safe, Abney figured he should probably go on the attack. Abney was actually standing up to Matthias. He wasn't just looking to defend his own records.
Squeaky chat was saying they were bullying him.
Looking to take records he didn't have. And it was working. During one crazy stretch in January 2016, he set 4 new records in 5 days. It put Matthias down to 27 out of 32.
Dude, Matthias is washed. Get him out of here.
Total in months.
He's
Abney had once again
more like
Matthias
thoughts.
Beatable. But as always, Matthias came back to racing later that month, 4 records down from where he was just weeks prior. But rather than be intimidated by what Abney had just done, he saw 4 records that were well within his abilities to beat. 2 of them were on long courses with room for optimization, Wario Stadium and Rainbow Road. Because of Matthias' ability to take just slightly better lines and optimize his driving, he knew that there was room for improvement over Abney's record. And he was right, picking them both up in a matter of weeks. The other 2, Calamari Desert and Bowser's Castle, each had new strategies that Matthias hadn't implemented yet. The hill hopping on Calamari Desert, and different thwomp paths on Bowser's Castle. Once he did,
that was so close.
2 more quick world records, putting his record total right back to 31 out of 32. His third time achieving that total. It was miraculous how he could do this. If someone took Matthias' records, he would just immediately grind to beat them back. People could temporarily beat him, but he would always prevail in the end. The one exception, of course, was Moo Moo Farm.
Moo Moo Farm, yeah.
For the 3rd time, he just needed that one record to get 32 out of 32.
Dude, he was probably
the 3rd time, Abney took the chance away from him.
Oh, dude, he must see that shit in his nightmares.
Beating Matthias by 0.06 of a second. Matthias only had the chance to grind Moo Moo Farm for about 12 hours, because that's how long it took Abney to get the record.
Wow.
That made it 3 times that Matthias had made it to 31 out of 32, with just Moo Moo Farm standing in the way, only to be stopped by Abney at the last minute. Just remarkable.
This person's like, Abney, stop, let him have this. He's worked so hard.
Summer. So in the middle of 2016, he took a step back from the game. Who could blame him after coming so close that many times? So, for several months, he didn't make any progress in his quest for 32 out of 32.
There was no life except Mario Kart 64?
The summer came and went. By October, he came back. And when he did, this is what he saw.
Oh no. Oh no!
Dan had just made a major statement. Matthias was down to just 24 out of 32
Oh my god,
records,
what up, Sam?
his lowest total in 3 years. This is what the community was capable of doing.
It's like when Ray Cox went on his honeymoon and he lost #1 in the world in gamerscore after like 13 years.
Dan had focused his world record efforts on Fraps No Land.
That's what you get for getting married, I guess.
But since he had the time, in mid-2016 he got a lot better at other courses too, and picked up records on courses like Wario Stadium and Yoshi Valley. Again, it was nothing revolutionary, just learning the right lines to take, how to take each turn, and other small driving mechanics. But regardless, the end result was there. Matthias was far away from perfection, and it seemed like maybe, just maybe, the community
5
could take it
in a
easy
single
and not
session.
have to worry about 32 out of 32.
Dan's game.
Then,
Wait,
in
what?
October, Matthias did this.
By the way, Sam, I got something I could give to you. Whoa, now, whoa, whoa, brother.
Yes! 212.67. Clutched it with a cave. What a cave path.
This is such an insane back and forth, dude. These are my favorite videos when it's just such a battle.
Yes! 23.
He's so wholesome. You can't even be mad at him. Fucking rat. I mean, cool guy. Wholesome guy.
Over the course of just 4 weeks in October
Please get Moo Farm. Let's see the 32.
Matias set 7 new world records. All of the months of work throughout 2016 done by Dan, Abney, and others were undone in a matter of weeks.
Wow.
World records on Wario Stadium, Mario Raceway, DK Jungle Parkway, Calamari Desert, Yoshi Valley, all by simply outdriving the other record holders. And that meant that for the 4th time, Matias was at 31 out of 32 records.
Dude.
Once again, the one that was missing was Moo Farm Lap. Let's take a closer look at that record. It was 27.82 by TJL, whereas Matias's best time was 27.91. TJL's record was one of the oldest records still standing at this point, being set all the way back in March 2013.
I mean, how do you beat
shortly
that?
after Matias first became the non-shortcut champion. Moo Farm is a very unique course, with slopes you have to go up and a fence you have to drive as closely to as possible.
How the fuck do you improve that?
There's
Dude,
very particular spots you have
I watched
to
a little bit of Mario Kart World speedrunning, by the way. Holy fuck, people are already disgusting.
your mushrooms, hugging the inside fence and driving over the moles while you do. TJL had been able to completely master it back in 2013. But since
today
Matias
marks a week
31
since it's
other
been out,
records
and
to
it's
worry
already
he
gross.
just couldn't quite figure out how to do this course optimally. Well, until now.
87. I felt the PR, I felt it.
It was a personal best by 0.04 of a second, meaning Matias was now a 20th of a second away from 32 out of 32. His other 31 out of 32s only lasted for a day or two at most. But this one was different. 5 days later...
There were two French graffiti artists that kept tagging over each other's tags under an overpass, and one of the artists passed away, and the other artist went out and put the other artist's tags over his and left it alone. That's awesome. That's really awesome. I bet the MK World runs will involve very little actual driving. Well, no, they're done in time trials. So you think you're given 3 laps and 3 mushrooms. Let's see if I could show you a quick example. There were 2 specific ones that I saw that were fucking insane. One was Shy Guy Bazaar, and the other, where the hell? Where was it? It was a Squeaks or Ludwig video, I think. And where the fuck was it? Okay, this one. And this one. Where is the? Anyways, there was a shortcut that was so insane. But yeah, Clint watches this. Dude, check this out.
32. How many cups are there? There's like... No, wait, no, I think it's 32. I think there's 8 cups. He doesn't do the task shit.
So like already like driving sideways because I guess it's a bit faster.
This crazy bastard.
This part is so nasty. To skip in between. And now notice how there's no train here, right? So on lap 2, because the train is moving, now it's faster to go off that wall and then on top of the train.
He's so deep on the train.
The crowd across.
It's such a cracked run. Yeah, this is the new world record.
Dude. There's another one though. Okay, yeah. Shy Guy Bazaar is insane.
If you wanted to compare times on the matches that I've been running, or maps I've been running, and he wants,
check this one.
He wanted to give Whistletop another chance.
But
And then I saw that.
There's one I saw I saw
added him back-
Squeaks.
Or no, he added
He
me
was
back,
practicing
and
for sure because
then
he
I saw
did
that he did not attempt
this strat, and everyone lost their shit, including me.
because he's scared.
Dude, look at how.
So we'll just have to beat him on his map.
See, like when I play, I feel like the rails and walls are like
This doesn't seem
useless.
that bad.
But then you see shit like this, you're like, yeah, no, they're actually
This looks cool, though. I like it.
they're actually crazy. Wonder can I find? Okay, this is the one. Okay, good. We found it. So I could close this. This one is the
No,
shortcut
no.
at the end. First of
They like
all,
to steal-
the very first turn, like drift into a rail, is so nasty. I saw it was, I think Ludwig tried it for like 10 minutes straight. I mean, he's been playing a lot of this. Not sure he's gonna run it. Oh yeah.
Baskets.
Here, check this one. The skip at the end is one of those things where I'm like, who the fuck figured this out? Is it somebody that fell off the map and was trying to save themselves? That turn is so brutal. That drift is just like flawless. And this one, again, I don't know what's different, but they grind the left on lap 1 and the right on lap 2. I don't know.
Wow, you
Wait,
can
this
do
skip,
the
look at
drifts?
this. Like, what the fuck do you mean? How do you figure that
Dude,
out?
I accidentally hit the ring all the time. Are you telling me that I'm supposed to hit the ring?
But you'll see, like I said,
That's
lap
actually
2,
good
for some
for me.
reason, they go right. So,
So this whole time when I thought, oh shit, I lose time because I hit the ring. Now it's like, no, you idiots. If you just turn the ring to the left, you're in good shape.
I don't understand why there's a difference. It's
I
so
don't actually
crazy.
hit the ring on my second lap though.
It's so crazy, dude. Game's been out for a fucking week. I get that, like, you know, people that have run prior Mario Kart games are playing it, so it's gonna get found fast, but like, Jesus Christ.
By Halloween night, he was still alive at 31 out of 32. Abney wasn't there. Dan wasn't there. The Alliance had gone radio silent. The only thing there was Matthias grinding Moo Farm, closer to the record than ever. And then, Lacey came to the rescue.
This
On
is
October
so...
31st, 2016, Lacey got a 2:12.50 on DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap. This course, especially on the 3-lap side, really was Lacey's specialty. It was his 23rd world record there, and this one couldn't have come at a bigger time. The thing is, Matthias definitely was the better driver of the two of them. Lacey just knew this course inside and out, and he was still a really good driver. He knew exactly where to go on the ramp, exactly how to take the slopes through the jungle, exactly how to mash on the cave at the end. This one course took up a ton of his Mario Kart 64 playing time, whereas it was only a small fraction for Matthias. As expected, the community was elated. 4 times now, Matthias had been at 31 out of 32. And 4 times he had been stopped at the last minute. And you might be noticing a pattern at this point. Matthias would get really close to 32 out of 32, then someone would stop him at the nick
Imagine
of
how
time.
fucking
Matthias
annoying that would
stop
be.
playing for a while, and then the community would grind together and take his total down lower. Well, that would happen again now in 2017. But this time, the community took it a step further.
Oh no. Oh my
By
god.
November 2017, Matthias was at 21 out of 32 records, his lowest total in 4 years. There were
Washed.
2 reasons his total got this low. The first was the usual period of inactivity from Matthias.
Wait, what was his name again? Matt?
He didn't completely stop playing, but he wasn't aggressively defending his non-shortcut records. And second, Dan took his gameplay to the next level. At one point in July 2017, he had 11 world records, the first time someone other than Matthias had had that many records in years. This was Matthias's lowest point since his quest for 32 out of 32 started. He knew he could get most of those records
Imagine
back.
just like a really fucked up ending, like Matthias became an alcoholic or some
time
shit.
And time again. Matthias would get his total up to 31 out of 32 with some effort, only to be stopped by one course in particular. Moo Moo Farm Lap was always in his way. The 27.82 by TJL was his
Villanark.
nemesis.
So you know what you
And
do
it was just too good for him to beat.
is you beat Moo Moo Farm, but you keep the video a secret. So you show everyone that you're 31, and then bam.
He did it. On November 27th, 2017, Matthias tied TJL's legendary 27.82. The key to getting it was playing the course a ton. It came at the end of a several week-long grind, where he had dozens of laps in the 2780.
Jesus.
During that time, he mastered everything there was to know about Moo Moo Farm, and ultimately it all came together on one magical run. His shrooms were clean, his mini turbos were perfectly timed on the slopes, his driving was tight. In March 2013, TJL set a magical run with his 27.82.
Is this how you count though? Well, yeah, because
It took Matthias
you share the record, right?
But finally he had replicated it. And it changed everything. This was the one world record Matthias had been unable to hold. The one record preventing him from getting 32 out of 32 for the past 2 years.
That emote is so... It's the misaligned eyes that kills me.
He stood at 22 out of 32 records. He had gotten each of the remaining 10 records before, and he knew he could get them again. It was time, once and for all, to get 32 out of 32.
Tell me he does it. This guy's been through fucking hell and back in Mario Kart, dude.
Oh yes, that should be enough. Yes! 4:25. Yes! Let's go. 60.
Sure enough, 3 months later, despite some resistance from Dan, Matthias was back to 31 out of 32. The last record he needed was DK Jungle Parkway 3 lap, a course he had struggled with at times, but still a record he had held on 4 separate occasions in the past.
That's what I'm thinking.
His
So
best
imagine.
time was 212.58. The record was 212.35 by Lacey. He was behind, but this record was certainly within reach.
Yeah, that's you know,
Time
if it
to
was like
finish
2
the
seconds,
job.
it'd be something. But like I could do this, you know.
And then, on March 13th, 2018, Matthias made history.
Oh, he did it.
He was beaten by Abney on Calamari Desert at the last minute. For the 3rd time. This was starting to get absurd. It was the 4th time Abney had prevented 32 out of 32. The 3rd time on Calamari Desert. And of course, Matthias congratulated Abney on the Mario Kart 64 forums. Only to beat him the very next day. Right back to 31 out of 32.
Oh my
without a
god,
chance
dude.
for the Alliance to gain any ground. So, Matthias was back to playing DK Jungle Parkway. 0.19 behind the record. And once again, he got results right away, getting a personal best that pushed him to just 0.15 behind
This
Lacey's
is,
record.
dude, I have like goosebumps.
This
It's a
strategy
fucking
from the
Mario
Alliance
Kart video.
clearly wasn't working. Even if someone beat one of Matthias's 31 records, he could usually get it back within a day or so. That wasn't a good long-term solution. Dan recognized this problem, so he started doing a strategy that few others dared to. He grinded DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap alongside Matthias.
Oh my god. Before they
This method
swat
certainly
him.
had its positives and negatives. On the upside, if he beat Matthias to the punch, it could make it harder to finish the job and get 32 out of 32. But Dan had only held this record once before, and Matthias certainly had the upper edge. If he failed to beat him, that would be a lot of time wasted he could have spent on any of the other courses.
Yeah.
This certainly was a gamble, but it paid off, because on March 16th, 2018, Dan set one of the clutchest records in Mario Kart 64 history. This beat the record by almost 0.2 of a second. It put Matthias back to 0.34 behind the world record. But its true dividends would be paid the next day, when Matthias got this time. It missed being the world record by 24 hours. Had he gotten it the prior day, it would have been 32 out of 32. But thanks to Dan's brand new record, he was just barely behind, by a matter of 0.08.
Can you imagine? Oh my god.
Still,
he
they were
probably just
clearly
threw
playing
up.
with fire. Matthias was less than a
It genuinely
tenth of a
feels
second
personal
from
at this
32 out of
point.
32, and had proven he was capable of taking time off his DK Jungle Parkway time fairly easily. This wasn't Moo Moo Farm. Any day, he could take this record, and he was constantly trying. The community watched in anticipation, waiting to see when they would have to crown Matthias as the ultimate champion. But on March 23rd, they breathed a collective sigh of relief.
That sub. Oh man.
How was Abney able to keep doing this? Well, the record still hadn't completely been optimized from the hill hops. But on Matthias's last Calamari Desert record, he had been able to go under the first train gap on lap 3, whereas all previous records were too slow and had to make the second one. So, Abney's goal was to hill hop effectively enough and drive fast enough to match Matthias and make the first train gap. He was able to do it, and thanks to just slightly better driving overall, he shaved enough time off to beat Matthias, and once again send him back to 30 out of 32.
God damn.
But with how close Matthias was, Abney thought it might be best to keep going. So, he set his sights on a new target. Both the 3-lap and lap records on Rainbow Road.
Interesting.
He targeted these in particular because A, they were each over 2 years old, meaning the community's overall quality of driving had improved since then, and B, they were on the longest course in the game, meaning there was likely room to optimize them. And within a matter of days, he nonchalantly picked both of them up.
Wow. Wow. How
Let's go. Straight into the challenge.
So that put Matthias back at 28 out of 32 records. In one quick swoop from Abney, momentum was back in the Alliance's favor. Things were looking
28
up for
and
them.
counting down.
So Matthias got back to work, and this is what he did over the next week.
Come on. Yes! Ooh. That's it. 71 on the last lap. Yes! 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 Oh.
He was back. This was now the 7th time Matthias
Seventh
had
time.
31 out
I
of
thought it was like the
32
fifth.
records.
Jesus,
He
dude.
had more determination than ever now to finish the job. The record was 212.14 by Dan, and he was right behind him with a 212.24. He quickly found results with a small personal best. But on May 1st, disaster struck for Matthias. Zoran, the founder of the A1A, beat the DK Jungle Parkway lap record. That meant that now, Matthias was missing both records
Oh
on this
my
course.
god!
And
Disaster!
what occurred
Eternal,
throughout
nothing
May
worse has
2018
ever happened in the
can
history of
only be described
mankind.
as a mad scramble on DK Jungle Parkway. Dan was grinding the 3-lap record, Zoran was grinding the lap record, and Matthias was grinding both. But ultimately,
Holy.
even though Matthias was lowering his best times,
How you doing, Eternal?
having to deal with both Dan and Zoran was just too much for him. Despite coming insanely close, he couldn't get either record. And eventually, he stopped trying.
Oh
And his
no.
record total began to fall into the 20s.
Oh no.
Months passed, and as more of Matthias's records were taken, reality began to set in. His window for perfection was probably gone. He had had 7 opportunities to get 32 out of 32. All of them were foiled at the last minute. Moo Moo Farm was his nemesis for a long time, with TJL's ridiculous lap being too hard to beat. After finally conquering that record, DK Jungle Parkway stood in his way. Lacey's expertise just barely kept him ahead, and once Zoran got involved on the single lap record, it was just too much for him. Matthias was probably the greatest person to ever play Mario Kart 64, but even for him, holding every record at once was just too big a task.
I can't believe it. Is this real? Guys, is this real or am I dreaming? 2:11:72 out of nowhere.
At least, that's what everyone thought. But on November 20th, 2018, Matthias pulled off a miracle on DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap. He took almost half a second off his personal best to crush the world record. Matthias himself didn't see this coming. Nobody did. But it meant he might be able to make one last push at this.
Oh my god,
Now,
dude.
he just had to pick up the rest of the records he was missing. That took him all of about 2 days. One record left. DK Jungle Parkway lap.
So 8th time that he's at 31 out of 32? Do it, please. Please.
The record was 42.07 by Zoran. Prior to Zoran taking it in May 2018, Matthias had held the record for the past 2.5 years, so he certainly knew what he was doing. But to beat the time that Zoran had put up was going to be asking for a lot. There were 2 big tricks he had to focus on. First, the ramp jump.
I'm so
There's a
enthralled with
very
these videos,
specific
man. They're
place you want to
crazy.
land, just to the left of this tree. Lining yourself up when you go off the ramp is super tough, but Zoran's
Yeah, Sam,
record
for
did
sure.
so perfectly. And second, the cave jumps at the end. We saw before how important these were, but lap runs add a mushroom in here to take them even faster. There's a very specific way you need to hop up to the top. As far to the left as you can be, but too far left is too steep and you'll tumble. All of that was a tall order, but luckily Matthias was the best the world had. This one was within reach. His thousands of time trial attempts, his 7 other times at 31 out of 32, they all came down to this. It was time to finish off his dream. 32 out of 32 world records.
Please do it, man. Please. I'm rooting for him so bad.
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
This was within reach, but then Miyamoto broke into his house and broke his hands? Seriously.
that's so tough to swallow. How close can you get?
I don't remember his avatar being censored. Yeah. 1 frame? One frame. Dude. $34.50. Favorite 47.
No! Ouch. Oh god. What did I do?
Oh. Oh no. And then Abney beats it. Oh no, dude. The 9th time.
Oh my god, dude.
A dream-crushing record from Abney. How close had Matthias come? Well, he tumbled in the cave because he was just barely too far left. As in, half the width of a cart too far left. Had he not tumbled, it almost certainly would have been either tied with or ahead of Zoran's record, meaning 32 out of 32. 5 years of trying, and thousands of hours playing Mario Kart 64 came down to one tiny failed motion. He just held the control stick slightly too far left. That was the difference between 32 out of 32 and another failed attempt. Following this, Matthias's record total would never recover. Instead, it was Dan's and Abney's turn to celebrate, pushing certain time trials to levels they had never seen before.
Yes! Yes!
No way.
Yeah, boys, yes! 54! Yes! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And that's where this story ends.
Oh
At
man.
least for now.
Fucking hell, dude. Poor Matthias. What an absolute goat. Wow, dude. That tumble.
Matthias may have never accomplished his goal, but what he did do is honestly just as impressive. 249 total non-shortcut records. 8 separate times at 31 out of 32. He just never got the last one to finish the job. But the thing is, he might not be done yet. Matthias still plays Mario Kart 64 actively to this day. His potential remains right there. He might still be in the middle of his quest for 32 out of 32. But wherever he goes in the future, we know he'll have tough competition along the way. Thanks for watching.
That's absolutely insane. Also, I just realized I've been streaming for 2 hours and I've not stood up once. Whoops. I guess it will start the next video standing. Dude, that was absolutely enthralling start to finish. That was crazy. That was fucking insane. Once again, shout out to Summoning Salt. Please go check him out. Go give the video a view and a like, because that was amazing. Holy shit. Holy shit. All right, I'll end the YouTube recording, and then we'll load up one more. YouTube, thanks for watching. Peace.